Okay, just wait for everyone to join in. All right. So hello and welcome everyone. I'm Janina Morris again, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today alongside our Sales Director, Samantha Perry. Welcome to today's webinar, WeSuite Closing Sales Using eSign Integration. Today we will take a guided tour of the features of DocuSign and eOriginal integrations with WeSuite, and you'll learn how to seamlessly initiate the eSign process from start to finish, including how to resend. And after this webinar, you'll be able to understand the differences between DocuSign and eOriginal, send proposals and contracts via electronic signature, send proposal revisions via electronic signature, and complete the eSign process and update your sales status. As always, we want you to get the most out of today's session, so if you have any questions at any point, don't hesitate to ask. Whether you need us to slow down, revisit a point, or dive deeper into something, just drop your questions in the chat and let's dive in and make the most out of your eSign integration. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Janina. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Alrighty. All right, we are going to jump into it, all things eSign today. I'm going to start with Quote Anywhere, and then I will also demo in WeEstimate, but really going full force Quote Anywhere on these webinars as we continue to convert all of the features from the desktop application to the web. So I already have a job here, and you can see it's job 22328. And, similarly, if I open up WeEstimate, it's the same job sitting on the top of the list over here. So really easy to go back and forth between the applications. Now, I've already gone ahead and just added a few materials and some hours of labor. So, business as usual here for filling in your customer info, building out the job itself, and then we'll move to the document screen. But I do want to show the customer info screen, whether you'd promoted this lead from WeOpportunity or you click the new project button in either Quote Anywhere or WeEstimate. In order to send a document for electronic signature, it will stop you if you have not entered in a contact with a valid email address. So just keep that in mind when you get all the way to the end. If you've not entered that info in, you will have to come back. Now I'm going to move to the document screen, and I already have a quote package in preparation here. This is my proposal document. I have a template configured. I've already written a cover letter and a scope of work. So I'm going to get ready to send this for eSign. And then I don't have any contracts yet, so I'm going to go ahead and add a couple contracts. And so depending on if you have any contracts in your system, you may see more or less than what I have here. I have 6 different contracts available that I could send for signature. And in this case, I'm just going to send the monitoring agreement and save that. And so now we're going to be sending for eSign the proposal and this contract. Keep in mind, some of you may only be sending contracts for signature and don't sign the proposal. Others maybe only have a proposal and send that for signature and don't have contracts. So, do become familiar with your system and what you have available. And then I can go ahead and start the eSign process now. And so it will, at the top, you'll see 2 options for consolidate documents and sending them as separate documents. In this case, I want it to be consolidated. And what that means is for the electronic signature processes, whether you're using DocuSign or we also integrate with eOriginal, it's kind of like putting a stamp on an envelope. So if one document has to get signed by those people and another document has to get signed by a separate group of people, it will automatically be considered separate documents because they're going to be sent, in 2 different directions, let's say. Whereas when I consolidate the documents, it's basically saying I want to send all these documents in one envelope together to the customer. It will default to consolidated if the people involved in signing are the same people, and it will default to separate if they are different people. And so if they are separate and you tried to consolidate it, it would tell you that you can't do that because there's different signing people in each document. Now, the round robin of who the document is going to go to is then going to list below. And so in my case, it's going to go to the customer first, and then it's going to go to the salesperson. And I could add a reviewer on the fly here if I want. So I could say, hey, in addition to the customer and the salesperson, their spouse wants to get a copy, or I'm going to manually include some other person internally on my team. I would say, though, if there is a kind of a standard of the document always goes from customer, then it gets countersigned by either the salesperson or maybe upper management, then it goes to, Justin over in the accounts payable department. I would standardize that as your routing order to begin with. That way you don't need to click add reviewer. Also, that's important because a reviewer will really just they'll get a copy and they'll be a part of the process to review it, but it won't give them a place if they physically need to sign anywhere, initial, fill in some piece of data. You will want them a part of the, standardized round robin of where the document is going to be going to. Now, this icon allows you to flip the signers. So I only have two, so it's literally flipping them. But if you had more than two, it would just put them in a different order. That is a DocuSign capability today. I don't think eOriginal is capable of doing that at this moment, but is coming from from enhancements coming later in the year. I would like to know if anyone in the chat is using eOriginal. Let me know, but I'm pretty positive 99% of you are using DocuSign, so I won't focus on eOriginal all that much if there's nobody on this call who's using eOriginal, but do pop that in the chat if you happen to know. And sorry, I just saw someone say if anyone's talking, they can't hear me. Can everyone else hear me? Everyone can hear me okay? Okay. Janina, maybe let Chris know. He might have his microphone, his speaker down or something. Okay.
Yep.
So then the selected documents are down below, and you can see I can trigger them on or off if I said, well, in this case, I don't want to send the proposal. I'm just sending the contract. Reason being is that by default, WeSuite includes a proposal in the quote package. So you'll always have it on the prior screen, but if you do not want to send the proposal for signature, you would just untoggle this here. And then we're going to go ahead and hit signed documents now. So once I go ahead and select that, it will load for a couple seconds. This is it communicating with the eSign provider to take the PDFs of the documents, layered where all the signature areas are, and then communicate to the DocuSign portal and send that invitation out. And so you'll have two options to either have the customer, if they're not physically with you, just, they'll get an email in their inbox, which I will pull up now for you so you can see what that looks like. And so this is the email that your customer will receive. And if you are part of your signing process, you will also probably be familiar with this. Now, mine says this is demonstration only and test and things like that. But your organization can personalize the body of the email. We can put like certain tags to say like always fill in the customer name here and fill the document name here. And then have the thank you fill in the salesperson's name. So you can change these if you would like. And then when they click review document, it will bring them to sign it. Now, if you're standing there with them in Quote Anywhere, I can open this up and they can sign live on my device with me, whether you're As long as you're in your internet browser on a phone or an iPad or something like that, they can sign right from the device. And so by clicking sign on device or clicking this button in the email, it will open up the DocuSign portal for you. Now they'll first have to consent that they agree to sign electronically. They can read a disclosure if they want, but that just says, yes, I agree. And there's some other options here if they want. Otherwise, we'll hit continue. And then it will bring you to the documents themselves. Now, mine is showing the contract first and then the proposal. Again, this is different based on how you have it set up in your system. But once they hit start, it will just bring them to where they need to sign. And so I'll go ahead and click my first signature area. And the first time they click it, they'll have to kind of confirm whether they're okay with this kind of superimposed signature or if they want to, physically draw something like that. Or they could upload. I'm going to go with this signature and say okay. And then initial, same thing. It's asking, do you want to go with this initial or no, I'm going to go with this initial. And then it will bring me everywhere else I need to sign. Now, hard to kind of demonstrate for you, but it's bringing me to where I have to sign. If you do have some, optional fields where they could pick, you know, they don't necessarily have to fill in that field. Uh, it will allow them to complete the document without doing so. So if you do need to require certain information to be filled in, we can make those required fields. And if it's optional, then it's optional. There could also be some logic to say, well, based on the selection of this, you now have to select that. We see that a lot in credit card forms where, the original question is, do you want to pay credit card or with your bank? And then depending on that selection, they now have to fill in either the credit card fields or the bank fields. So when they are done with all required fields, you'll see this ready to finish, and they can go ahead and click finish. And now their process is done. We close this tab if you're in Quote Anywhere. Otherwise, if it was just email, everything's done. And you would see that the recipient has signed, and now the next person in line is going to get an email to sign. And again, if you're already in the system and it's you could just sign right live on the device. And if not, it's going to send an email to the next person. In addition to that, DocuSign will allow you or has a list of options for email notifications. So this is really good if you want, from a sales perspective, to see if they've opened it, if they're looking at it, if they've signed it. And so that will be something set up on the DocuSign side, not in the WeSuite side, but then that way you get notification real time that your client has clicked the link and is physically looking at it. It's really great because, again, if maybe you're doing a longer sales cycle and they're not just signing right then and there with you and they're looking it over, you can see, when they opened it and they're looking at it again today and give that person a call. So I'm going to pause there and see if there are any questions so far.
Yep, we have one, Sam. So,
Okay.
um, when you mentioned additional reviewer, will they have to review it to move it to the next stage in the signing process, or can you switch it to just receives a copy?
So that's a very good question. So reviewer literally means that they are now a part of the process and that they physically need to do something as that step of the process. If you would rather it just be receive a copy, they could be like a this is something we would have to program in the back end of the system, but you could have it so that someone's a reviewer at the end where their step isn't, it's not contingent on whether the process is considered closed or not. So if they don't do their process, it's okay. The job's still considered closed. Um, or you might want to go the route of the DocuSign email notifications instead, because then you can just have, hey, when a document is signed and completed, send that notification to, this person, or I think you can put in multiple people. You might want to double check that on the DocuSign side. But then that notification, I think you can toggle on or off whether or not a PDF copy is included in that. So we could always look at your specific process and see if it makes more sense to make them a physical part of the process in this, step 1, 2, 3, and they're like that last person, or if instead it should just be an email notification that the job has been closed. For example, in my organization, it goes sales, customer, salesperson, president, and then it goes to the operations manager and the accounts billing team. But the operations manager and the billing team, while they're reviewers, they're not required to do their step. So they just see the email as this came their way. And so if they don't actually go through all the steps, that's okay, because the contract is still considered complete and signed. Which brings up something important. If I sign this now with this person, or the final signer, it will consider the transaction done and closed. So if the customer comes back later and says, oh, wait, I needed to add, 2 more devices, you will have to either scratch the job completely and start it new, or create it as a change order, because DocuSign will have considered that transaction closed. Now, the WeSuite job is obviously still open. You need to, physically win the job when you're ready to win it. But DocuSign, I won't be able to send any more quote packages because the eSign process is done. So it probably is always a good idea to have the final person in the process of steps be some sort of office reviewer person. That way you don't run into where the customer signed, I've countersigned, but oh wait, we need to change something, and it's now locked up. So now that they've signed, you will see, like if I come back, that it is a winning quote now. All right. So what that means is that the eSign has all been signed, and that's tagging that winning quote, but the status of the job doesn't just automatically move to sold, because you might still need to enter notes or add things to supporting documents or update your job type, system type, and things like that. So when you are physically ready to win the job, you change it from in negotiation to won job, and then the date that it's won, and save. So just want to repeat that, just to make sure it's clear. The eSign is considered winning. I cannot send any more signatures because everyone who was in the signing process has signed, and then DocuSign closes it down. You will then go in and physically win your job after you've tightened up whatever else needs to be tightened up, and now it's sold and would start, the potential export process into another application. Okay. Next piece I want to show is the same process, but in WeEstimate, just to, for those of you using this more heavily right now. So I'm going to just copy this job and make a new job, and just use the same customer and contact and job info, so we don't have to redo all of that. Now, for those of you who don't know, when I copy and paste, it is asking if I want to copy the documents as well. So I had the proposal and that monitoring agreement. I'm going to say yes, even though you can, if you are just copying the job content because you're selling similar parts and labor and things, but it's a different customer, I would not recommend copying the proposal and contract, because it's going to copy the scope of work and anywhere else the customer may be. Well, that's actually not true. If anywhere you physically typed the customer's name, like cover letter, scope of work, custom text items, it will automatically change the customer's name and site address and things like that based on, auto-populating from the new job. In this case, I'm just creating a second job within the same customer bin. So it's going to be Johnny Appleseed again. It's going to be the same site address again. But if I was going to say, well, we did a job for Johnny yesterday, I'm doing a new job for Samantha tomorrow, I could copy a job into a totally different bin if I want. But I'm just going to go ahead and hit continue here just to save myself some time. And then it's going to auto open this new job for me. Give it a second to do that. It's a very large database. There we go. So now I have job number 2 in this bin. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the pros and cons of that after we go through this next signing process. But after you've done your whole job and estimate, again, just be sure your contact info is all correct with the billing address, site address, and the contact itself. And that email address is what's important, and we'll stop you later. And we'll move straight to the document screen now. And then you would go through your regular motions here of designing your proposal or designing your contracts. Now here's kind of that visual representation of the fact that I created a brand new job from scratch, and revision 1, quote package number 1 is automatically here and created. And then I would have to physically add the contracts. Now I already have the one contract because I copied it from last time. But if, let's say, in this case, I wanted to send the service agreement also this time, I'm going to drag it from this side into this middle area, and then I would select the contracts. By selecting each contract, it'll tell me any other selections I might need to make. If I'm ready to e-sign them, there's going to be a button here along the left. It has a little pencil in the box, and this is send for electronic signature. And it's going to pop up the same kind of screen that we saw in Quote Anywhere. You're going to see whether it's consolidated or separate documents. It is a consolidated document package, so both documents are going to the same people. And then separate documents would be, well, these documents are the proposal's going to these people, and the contract's going to these people. And so here you could see pretty clearly that the proposal has Joe, Johnny, and the manager, and the monitor agreement does not have manager, so that's the separate. But we're going to go ahead and keep it consolidated. Now, similarly, I have the buttons to change the position. So this arrow is flipping people, moving them up or down the list. I can replace the contact quickly by clicking this icon rather than going cancel and going all the way back over here. And for some of you, you have, you physically type in a different email. This is really not needed anymore. Now we have the ability to send auto tag who needs to sign based on the different regions or offices in your system. Because some of you, operate under multiple logos. Some of you work with builders, and so the builder, if you're quoting to, ABC Homes or XYZ Homes, there's a different signer person involved. We can actually automate that now. You don't need to type in the email. But if you did want to physically just change the email here, you could. But I would really suggest instead replacing the full contact. And then we're going to go ahead and send for signature. Live sign on my screen is not available in WeEstimate. So we'll hit send for signature. This is going to load, and then we're going to get the exact same email in our inbox like we did last time to review and sign. And so we will go through those steps one more time. I will also just show you, like, real quick, I got a couple email notifications as that other one happened, right? I got that this document has been completed and it has the PDFs attached. I also got that the document had been sent, it had been opened. So, this is something, if you're not taking advantage of this now, your DocuSign portal, you can go ahead and trigger some of those things. So I just got a new email now for this job. So same thing, I'm going to click Review Documents. And it's going to open a new web browser for me and walk me through the signing room. Okay, and so I won't do that all over again, but same process is here. Now, any questions about the WeEstimate process? Doesn't look like any more come in, so okay. And someone did ask about this being recorded, and we just answered, but this is being recorded and would be on our website. So you could always watch a recording later, share with your team. We have a YouTube channel now with all the recordings on there. So you could find it through our website or through YouTube directly. All right, so next topic I wanted to talk about was revision. So that inevitably is going to happen sometimes. Now, I would stress that if you know you're going to go through some iterations or this is really just a draft of a proposal, don't send it for eSign yet, right? Because you're getting billed every time you click that send for eSign button because it's like buying a book of stamps and you just keep sending it. Instead, I'm going to add a quote package. And a very important question here is, would you like this to be a copy of the last one? And so if I do want that, meaning a copy of the same checkboxes I selected and the scope I wrote and all of that stuff, then I'm going to say yes. It does not mean that it's copying the quote itself, meaning the estimate, right? If I go to the estimate and say, well, they changed their mind and instead of quantity of 5, they want quantity of 4, now my price went down by $200, and that's not copying. What's copying is the document layout itself, right? The boxes you have checked on here and whatever you wrote in scope of work and custom text items. So now I have revision number 2. It will auto stamp that revision number 2 as long as you've not changed the name of the quote package. If you change the name from alarm system to access and video system, it will say that's revision 1 of that named package. So some of you do rename it every time and even put in the name like revision 1, revision 2. That's why you might see revision 1, revision 1, revision 1. If you do want to stamp the revision numbers on your proposals by default, we can do that. That's something we could edit right on your contracts or proposals. We see a lot of that, stamping revision numbers, stamping things like expiration date, so someone doesn't just go and sign a proposal you sent 3 months ago, that it says clearly like pricing is only valid for 60 days or something like that. But now I have quote packages in preparation and quote packages that I have physically sent. And you can also see this icon here indicates that it was sent for e-signature. Whereas if I just said, the customer's like, send me another version, but at this price, but I don't want to send it for e-sign, I could just email it instead or print it and PDF it and email it to them and flag that I sent it. In any case, you want to have done one of these 3 things in order to consider the quote package sent. Otherwise, if it's not sent, it's just going to continue to be edited. Like I've seen the mistake of someone adding a quote package once and now twice, and now I have revision 1, revision 2, revision 3, but they're not sent. So if I continue to make changes to the quantity and say, well, now they want 10 of these, and we went from 7,000 to 8,200, revision 2 and 3 are both going to say that because I never sent revision 2 at that $7,200 price. So just be careful of that. With Quote Anywhere, we eliminated that possibility from happening. Once you send something, you physically have to create a new one, and then you have to send that new one before you can create revision 3. So that way it just stops the possible user error of doing what I just did here. So if I do just want to flag that I sent it or email it, I'm going to just say flag it instead, and it will go to quote packages sent, but you're going to see it's not going to have that eSign icon. This was sent to be eSigned. This was just sent as a PDF out of WeSuite. So if I want to send it for eSign again, it is just going to say, are you sure you want to do that? Because your prior quote package you sent will be voided. And you're just going to say, yes, I don't want them to sign the old one. I want them to sign this new one. And you'll see the same steps. Now, if they click on the link from the old one, I believe it's just going to say like not valid anymore and they have to click on the new one. With eOriginal, it kind of just considers it like a live portal. So whether they click on the old one or the new one, it just brings them to the new document. But I think with DocuSign, it's going to say like this link expired and the new one sent out, they'll sign. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing again in Quote Anywhere just to kind of show you that one more time on the revision side and what's different here. Here you can see the job number 2 I created. And if you didn't know, when you click View Sales Project, this is the project bin 22328, and here's J1 and here's J2. So you could see the full bin if you're the type of team that has J42, which some of you are just continuing to create jobs under one bin. You can see that here in Quote Anywhere, and then we'll go ahead and open up J2. Now it does say that I've sent it, it's in negotiation. It will physically not let me do anything to the quote now, and this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. To make it very clear that you now need a new quote package, it won't let me edit anything. So you'll see it's all grayed out. I can't add parts, I can't do anything, and that's because I now need to create a revision 4 because I've sent 1, 2, and 3. So this is where you'd go to manage, and we're going to add a new quote package. I actually have revision 2 I didn't send, so that's what's here. And here's revision 1 and revision 3 that were sent. And so I'm going to go ahead and select that. And now I'm in an active in preparation quote, and I can edit things now. Okay. And so if I wanted to go to the document, I would go ahead and follow the same steps for the signing process. If you don't want to e-sign out of Quote Anywhere and just email it, it's very easy. You just hit email document. It will auto populate your customer's email in the to line, and then you can add more people if you want. The subject will also default. And if you do have any email bodies, you can save that in WeEstimate. Saving and creating email bodies is coming very soon to Quote Anywhere. But if you have selected or created email bodies, you could just select one of those and it'll auto-populate easily, or you could just type in an email. But I do see some people with a different body for a current customer, a new customer, maybe based on market vertical or something like that. And you could always personalize it after the fact. So there it said, are you sure you want to do that? Whatever you wrote there is going to be replaced. I said yes, and so now it populated there. And then you could decide which documents you want to turn on or off. It defaults that you want to send all of them, but you could change that up if you want. And so that would send the email. So that's the equivalent of clicking the email or flag as sent in WeEstimate. And so then I can't create a new quote package now because I have to send this one. So let me just go ahead and do that so that it goes as sent. And now I'm going to make one more quote package number 4 just to close this chapter on revisions in Quote Anywhere as well. Clicks are, it's a little different, especially if you've been using WeEstimate for a long time. So, I really just suggest forcing yourself to use it and getting a few jobs out. Here I don't have anything, I don't have an email connected, so it doesn't like that. So you can ignore that, but let's e-sign it. But after you've gone through the motions a couple times, you should be good. So same thing, are you sure you want to do this? Quote package will be voided, yes. And now it's going to go through the signing again. So you can see, you can pretty easily rack up a bill if you're sending for eSign over and over again. So probably good to just email drafts, and then when the customer says, yes, I'm ready to go, e-sign it. And if those of you are doing more resi and you might eat a couple transactions, I think it still very much pays for itself, even if you've double paid for a couple transactions. It's just those where you're going to be going back and forth with edits. So let's create one more quote package here. I'm going to hit manage quote packages, and now it'll say there are no open quote packages in the workspace. Sorry, it needed to refresh. I've sent revision 1, 2, and 3. And 2 is the active quote because that's the last one I sent. So you can resend prior versions if you need to, and I could like revert back to any. Sync to workspace actually is a good one. You see this one was $7,400, this one's 82, this one's 82. The customer said, forget it, let's go back to the $7,400. I would sync that to being the active quote, and then that's the one that I'm going to win. But I'm going to create revision 4 one more time, and we're going to say new quote package, and it's going to say, all right, do you want to copy it from one of the ones you already sent, or do you want to select it from your default list of templates that you have? I'm going to go from a prior one, so I want this to be the same as revision 3, let's say, and then add it. And now we've created revision 4. And so at this point, my quote will activate again, and I'm allowed to come over here and say, well, let's add, 8 of these guys. And now that was $600 each, so my quote's going to have gone up quite a lot. Now we're at 13,000, and we'll go ahead and sign it again. So any other questions so far? I do want to talk about the kind of quote package syncing again over on the WeEstimate side for those of you that are interested. But yeah, pretty straightforward here. I think kind of take homes are just to get familiar with your eSign process. If you do need to automate any email notifications, like if you're not getting notifications that you think you should be getting, bring that up to your system admin, and really consolidating the signers to all be the same people will also be important to consolidate the documents. But if you do need to send different documents to different people, you can totally do that. But outside of that, I've pretty much hit our agenda for today. And if there are no other questions, happy to let you guys go a little early. Okay. Well, let me show the WeEstimate quote package piece, just so we can hammer that home for those of you really doing it in WeEstimate, and then we'll let you all go. So let's open this up again. We're at 13,000 now in WeEstimate. Again, you can see how clearly this is all syncing. So if you're not using Quote Anywhere yet, I would tell you guys run, don't walk, and get that set up, because then you could use WeSuite from your phone, from your tablet, from wherever. But now we'll go to the document screen again, and we're going to see quote packages 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, you can see what's been sent for signature and what hasn't. Now, if I wanted to flag any of these as sold, I can, or I could resend it to the customer. This is just via email. If you need to resend for signature, you need to send another one either through WeSuite, or you can manually resend in the DocuSign portal if you don't want to get hit again with a transaction. But you can't send it again through the WeSuite API without getting hit again with another charge. So just food for thought there. But what we were mentioning with the quote packages is here you could see what we were looking at. I have a $13,000 version active, and I sent the $7,000 version and two $8,200 versions. And so if the customer said, you know what, let's go back to version number 1, I can right click this and click sync to workspace, and that will overwrite the job that I have active back to what it was at this point in time. So it will say, are you sure you want to do that? Because you're going to overwrite any work that you have in your current job. So if you do want to save this as a version that you want to see later, I would flag it as having been sent. I'll go and do that now. We're going to save this $13,000 version as sent. Now it's physically saved and frozen in time, so that if I ever needed to go back to that $13,000 version, I could. So now I'm going to see quote packages 1, 2, 3, and 4 have all been sent. And this pink one is the latest one sent. So if I said, no, let's go back to the $7,400 version, sync to workspace, it's going to say, are you sure? You can't undo this. Yes. And now right here, this 13 is going to go back to 7,400. So this is a much better way of sending out various revisions or options of pricing rather than creating J1, J2, J3, because now I have J1 and J2 that are both the same job technically. So when I go and run a forecast, it's going to look like I have, 15,000 in the pipeline, but I really just have option one and option two of the same project. So by using revisions more religiously, this will allow you to send many different versions of the same quote, but only have one active quote in your, um, you know, list of jobs that you're working on. So hopefully that helped some of you that have been maybe doing J1 and J2 instead. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. But I will let it go to Janina to close us out and announce next month's webinars, and look forward to talking to you all again soon.
Thank you, Sam. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and we hope that you've learned some good information that you can take back for yourselves and share with your teams. And again, if you need to refer to this webinar again, it will be posted on our website by this time tomorrow, on our website under Education, Training, and Webinars. And don't forget to mark your calendars for our upcoming webinars. So for our upcoming webinars, we're going to have the best practices for onboarding and offboarding users on Tuesday, June 17, and the Quote Anywhere and the Site survey on July 8th. Take care and have a great day, everyone.